Hey, and welcome. Today, we're going to unlock some serious secrets, the ones hidden in the pages of pretty much every book. I'm going to hand you a special set of keys, the 5 secret blueprints that authors use to build their ideas. So, what do you say? Let's get started. I want you to think about something for a second. Every single book you read, it's kind of like a building. Seriously, it's got an internal architecture, this hidden structure holding the whole thing together. It's not just a random jumble of facts. It's a space that's been carefully designed. And to really get it, you've got to find the author's blueprints.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're not just reading, we are exploring. Think of me as your personal guide as we step into this incredible library. Together, we are going to find the secret keys that unlock a way deeper level of understanding in everything you read from now on. Okay, so here's our map for today's tour. We're going to visit 5 totally different wings of this library. We'll start in the portrait gallery, then the Hall of Mirrors, the Domino Chamber, the Architect's Study, and we'll finish up by climbing the Storyteller's Stairway. Each one holds a different blueprint. You ready? Let's dive in. Okay, our first stop is right through here, in this massive hall, just lined with these stunningly detailed paintings. Welcome to the Portrait Gallery. This whole room is all about bringing one single subject to life in really, really rich detail. The blueprint we're looking at here is description. You know, just like an artist uses brushstrokes to capture a person, an author uses this structure to paint a super vivid picture with words. Their entire goal is to make you see something by laying out all its characteristics, features, and giving you tons of examples. And you know how an artist might leave little notes in their sketchbook? Well, authors leave clues too. Think of these phrases right here as the artist's notes. Whenever you spot words like for example, or such as, or looks like, you know for sure the author is painting you a really detailed portrait. So anytime you feel like you're in the portrait gallery, just ask yourself this one super simple question. What is being described? Answering that is going to reveal the real subject of the portrait and the author's main idea. All right, our tour continues. Let's see what's in the next wing. Come on, follow me down this corridor. We are now entering the Hall of Mirrors. Look at that. On your left, you see one reflection, and on your right, you see another. See, this whole hall is designed to show you 2 things at once, side by side. The blueprint in here is called Compare and Contrast, and it's such a powerful way for an author to deepen your understanding of a topic by putting it right next to another one. These mirrors help us see what they have in common, that's the comparison, and what makes them totally unique, and that's the contrast. And here are the words that kind of act as our guide in this hall. Words like alike and similarly, they point to the shared reflection, the similarities. But then phrases like different from and on the other hand, they show us where those reflections split apart, highlighting all the differences. So when you're walking through this hall of mirrors, these are the questions to ask yourself. First up, what 2 things are being held up for reflection? Then you gotta look close. How are they alike? And just as important, how are they different? This blueprint, it reveals insights you would totally miss otherwise. All right, this next room is fascinating. This is the Domino Chamber. Just look around. You see these incredibly complex lines of dominoes all set up, just waiting to create a chain reaction. This room, it's all about consequences. The structure at play here is cause and effect. It is one of the most fundamental blueprints in all of writing. One event, the cause, tips over, and bam, it triggers another event, the effect. The author's goal is to show you that exact connection, that chain reaction from one action to the very next. So how do you spot this chain reaction in a text? Well, you look for what I call the connectors. These are the words that basically glue one domino to the next. When you read words like because, since, or as a result, the author is literally showing you the link between a cause and its effect. This right here is the core riddle of the Domino Chamber. You should always be asking 2 things. First, what happened? That's your effect. And second, why did it happen? That's your cause. Understanding this blueprint helps you grasp the real logic behind events. Okay, let's step into a quieter space now. Welcome to the Architect's Study. It's filled with all these drawings and models and blueprints. But these aren't for buildings, they're for ideas. This is where challenges get mapped out and solutions get designed. The blueprint in this room is problem and solution. It's a really direct approach. First, the author carefully outlines a challenge or a dilemma. Then they roll out the architectural plans for the answer, proposing one or maybe even a few solutions.
And you know, just like a real architect's blueprint, these texts have super clear labels. When you see phrases like "the problem is" or "the dilemma is," the author is pointing directly to the challenge. And then when you see words like "solved" or "answer," they're showing you the fix they've come up with. To read this blueprint correctly, you just need to ask this two-part question. First, clearly identify the problem being presented. Then, look for the solution being offered. It's a very direct and, honestly, a very purposeful way of structuring information. For our final stop, we're heading to the grandest feature in the whole library, the storyteller's stairway. Each step on this huge, winding staircase represents a moment in time or a step in a process, leading us upward in a very, very specific order. The blueprint for this stairway is called sequence. It's all about arranging information step by step. Doesn't matter if it's a historical timeline or a set of instructions. The author guides you along a path, and words like these are the signposts. First, next, then. Each one marks a clear step in the journey. When you're on the storyteller's stairway, this is the question that keeps you from getting lost. You've got to identify the individual events or steps, but just as importantly, you have to understand the order they happen in. It's the key to following directions, understanding history, pretty much any narrative. And that brings us back to the main hall. Our tour is complete. You did it. You've been through the portrait gallery of description, the hall of mirrors for compare and contrast, the domino chamber of cause and effect, the architect's study of problem and solution, and the storyteller's stairway of sequence. You now hold the 5 secret blueprints.
Because here's the thing, these aren't just tools for reading, they are tools for thinking, for building your own arguments, for communicating your own ideas with incredible clarity and power. You now have the blueprints used by the best writers and thinkers out there, so the only question left is, what will you build?